If I do have the right thing. Yes, I do have sound. So welcome to this weekly live stream. It's been a while and we've been busy on Uno, and you've seen that we've released the Uno platform hot design beta. So if you haven't tried it yet, please do so and give us feedback. That would be very appreciated. I hope you enjoyed a few hours ago the presentation by Andres on Writer. He was doing an interesting presentation around hot designs. That was nice. So if you want to go take a look at that, it will be good. And thank Andres for it. And today we're going to be taking a look at a few issues that are on the Uno platform that have been opened by contributors recently. And this time we're going to be taking a look at two issues. The first one being the WebAssembly. On WebAssembly, we had a web view that executes script async. That must be a function that was not defined. So probably something that we have somewhere in our Uno platform implementation that got broken, maybe, or is incorrectly defined. So we're going to be troubleshooting this. Lucky you for what? Hi, is it? So build calc. I see build calc. I recognize the icon, but I don't remember who that is. But anyways, welcome. So there's that one. And there's also the content presenter data context page is null even after correct control loaded. So we're going to take a look at that one and see what we can fix on this side. So let's take a look and first try to repro. So we have, oh, it's Baskin. Okay, that's who graciously created a repro for this. So we're gonna go take a look and see if the repro is the right one or adjust it if need be. And to do that, we're just going to be cloning the repro here. We're just downloading a zip. It should probably be enough. And we're gonna be just extracting that and build it and see what happens. Great. So I'm going to take a look at that repository and load it up. Let's take a look first at which version that is. So it's 5.6.37, not the latest, but we're going to try first with that version, and then we're going to try with the latest, just in case it was fixed in between. So that could be. And we're going to validate the rest. Great. Okay, so for that first issue, we know that it's a WebAssembly issue. So let's go take a look at the code. We have a main page, which has a web view, a progress string, and a text block. We also have an app that runs on multiple platforms, but it's Android only. It's a browser only. So we're going to be going to that version instead. So let's go and select WebAssembly and let's go and run this app and see what happens. Okay, so it says unknown member, background border fill, and border thickness on web view 2. So probably the XAML in there is not the right one. Probably going to be having to remove a few things. So those are not supposed to be there. So let's remove them. So we got background, border brush, and thickness. So the last three, those are not something that can be set on a web view, at least not on the Uno one, but that's probably not the issue here. So let's remove them and see if we go forward. Still not building. We got a background again. Background we can remove. Did I remove too much? No, I remove. Okay. Let's go. And it's building on net9. Oh, no, it's still loading the WinApp SDK. So probably there was a loading issue there. So let me go back again to the WebAssembly. Okay, there you go. So this is something, so if you're encountering that specific bug, when you're changing the target frameworks and it's taking a bit of, it's taking some time, or it's just doing something when you selected something, it goes back to something else. This is something that we fixed in the very latest version, or at least improved in the very latest version. where you may be noticing that this icon changes between when you're going to desktop and WebAssembly, and this is an issue that we're working on with Microsoft, where when you're selecting desktop, everything that goes along with web just goes away, and it's kind of a single thing that needs to run on one end, and it basically the target framework for WebAssembly takes over everything else. My apologies. And it happens so that we need to reload the project here so that it works properly with WebAssembly. And the problem is that only happens when all the packages have been restored properly. So if you're in between and the packages have not been restored, that may happen that the target framework doesn't load properly. So if you've loaded everything once and then and the packages are in your NuGet cache, then you should be good. Great. So let's continue. So let's try to see if our application is starting properly this time. And no worries, Pascal. I mean, it's okay if the application doesn't build. Most of the time, just the bits and pieces of what should be happening are good enough. Okay, so we can go take a look at the output here, and when we load here, it says click to run, execute test, and then we execute the script, and then we can see that function name here is considered undefined. So what that means is that there's somewhere a binding inside of Uno that is not defined properly for execute script async. That should be, and it probably is something that around either the name of the function has changed, or maybe it's defined incorrectly or something. So that may be something that needs to be fixed. Great. So the first thing to do is two things. Yes, I did click again. The second thing that needs to be done is test with the latest stable. So to do that, we go to NuGet info, and we're going to search for uno.sdk. So the latest one is 5645. So we're just going to bump that one to 45. It says to reload the reload Visual Studio because the SDK has changed. Let's do this. Great. And now that we're leaving the restore to run properly, so it's done or almost done. There's a bit of IntelliSense running. Okay, there we go. Let's run it again. Hey, hi, Mikhail. So if Hot Design Live was this morning, well, this morning for me, a few hours ago with Andres on Writer. So if you want to take a look at that one, that will be a Hot Design Live. I'm generally doing bug fixes and PR optimizations, PR, not optimization, and PR fixing live. Not necessarily working on Hot Design because Hot Design is private, so we're not going to be doing anything around this. Yeah, Andres did a very nice job this morning or a few hours ago, so that was super cool. Glad you enjoyed it. So we're going to be making a lot more of those along the way, particularly with the feedback that we get on those sessions. It's invaluable. Any kind of feedback that you're getting us to the Uno, the studio repository on Uno. Please make the feedback flowing. It's going to be very useful for us. Great. So if I click the run and then I click again, we can see that on the latest stable, it's still broken. Now let's go and take a look at the latest, but this time with the dev builds of Uno. And to do this, we're going to go to the Uno SDK private this time. So what we're going to do is just test something that is just for developers. So when you're developing for Uno and trying the latest of everything, but latest in a sense that for developing. So developing for Uno. The thing is that is important is that SDK contains outdated versions of some packages. So you may be encountering issues that you should not get. So don't do this if you want to test, if you want to develop your app in a standard way. But if you're doing some testing, then that may be of interest. So I'm going to be going to the SDK private, and to do this, I'm going to change the version here and go to private. And then in the project SDK, I'm going to go to private as well here. I'm going to ask to reload again. And this time we're going to be using an intermediate build of Uno, but just the UI part. So no SDK, no hot design, anything like that. And actually hot design is there, but it's an older version, so it's not super interesting. But it's the latest for the UI features by themselves. So we let the NuGet package restoring properly. Just going to be ignoring Uno check on that end, because on my machine I need to fix a few things with JavaScript. You may have seen that banner, by the way. It's something that we added recently to help with make sure that your environment is set up properly. There's quite a few things interesting about the feature is that now Uno check is being run specifically for the target frameworks that are in the list here. So let's say if you just have a browser, then we're gonna run Uno check just for the version and the target framework that you're using, not for the rest. So it's not going to try to install Android, iOS, or everything like that. It's just going to be restoring for browser or the target frameworks that you have on your list. So it's still restoring, and we should be good in a few seconds. Okay, there we go. Now, if we try it again, let's see. Should not be having any trouble with the builds, but because it's a private SDK, so it may be raising additional issues, but that should not be the case. That's not the case. That's good. So let's check. What do we have this time? So if we start click, okay, still failing. Good. So we know that it's not fixing the latest build of Uno. Now we can go take a look at the sources and try to figure out what's happening and why is that method not called. So one of the things that's of interest here when taking a look at Uno is to determine where that function may be coming from. So we're searching for something that's called execute async. And that method is around here. So let's go and search that method, and there's a file that's called uno.ui.js. That file contains pretty much all the interop, well, almost all of the interop that's required for Uno to run. And if we search for execute async, we should be finding one. And it's not there. So what that would mean is that there's something wrong with the inclusion of that particular feature. So that means that there's something in the code of in the C# side that is trying to reference a piece of JavaScript that is not there, and looks like we are missing it. So let's go take a look at that. I know Martin Zickman implemented this, so maybe either it missed something or maybe the name is different or something like that. So I'm going to try to figure that one out. So I've cloned the Uno repo, and now I do need to go and make sure that we're opening the repository using the right target framework override, so that we don't load everything for the right we're not loading all of the target frameworks just when we want to debug only one. So in our case, we want to debug WebAssembly, and WebAssembly is this one, so net 8, net 9. So we change the target framework override to net 9, and then we're going to be opening the WebAssembly, so Uno UI Wasm only solution filter that's found in here. So it's in there. So the reason we're doing this is that Visual Studio doesn't have a way to kind of scope the loading of projects and solutions, and as a result, if you open the solution, you're going to be just loading everything, and it's a lot of target frameworks and a lot of code. So to make Visual Studio just behave and not be too slow, we're just scoping it and then opening just for one target framework. It makes it easier to work with. So we're going to search for our execute script async. That is for WebView, and the one that we're looking for specifically is one that is in a JS import. So we can see here a JS import. So JS import is a way for C# code to call JavaScript code. So what we're doing is basically asking through interop to the interop that's been generated for JS import to call that method. And there should be a method on the WebAssembly side, the JavaScript side, that should be named WebView.executeScriptAsync. But for some reason, it's not defined. So We're going to try to figure out if that method is there. Maybe it's not named the same way. Maybe it's just called execute async, maybe something else. So let's go and figure out if there's something similar. So when we're looking at this, there's a folder on the Uno repository, on the Uno project. So we're in the Uno UI Wasm. Actually, let me reload it because there were a few changes so that the icon goes away. Great. We have a TS folder here, and we're going to drill into this to find the control. There's probably a webview.ts. There you go. So we had a webview.cs, and there it is. That's the issue. So we had execute script and execute script async. So we were searching for execute script, but that was not the right name. So basically what's happening is that we're trying to execute a method here. When we're calling that C# method, we're trying to execute a function, a JavaScript function that is in the WebView class that's supposed to be called execute script async, but doesn't exist. So the fix is basically take this out. So what we're going to do though is, I'm going to show you now how to override. So let's say you want to troubleshoot that in your own app. Let's go and change that so that we can test the result of that modification directly in your app. So if we go back to the cross-targeting override props file, we're going to change the Uno override version to something else. Here we have 570 dev 6662, and we're going to be using exactly the one that's used by the app in the global JSON. So the way it works is that because the SDK private is aligned with the Uno version that's on the other side, we can just take that number and bring it over here. And what we're going to do is just build the Uno samples app here, so that builds the whole chain. So it should be relatively fast. It's the first build, may take a little bit, but that should not be too long. Well, I'm glad you like it, Bastrin. Yeah, this is well, it's just generally easy to work with, and so we can see that there's a few errors with the copy, and the reason for this is that we have another solution open on the side. It's not a big deal in most cases. It's the what we're calling the remote control server is a tooling that allows to do hot reload to have hot reload to work. This is not needed when we're building the app from Visual Studio, so that's fine. So it's just going to complain for the first time, and then it's going to go away. So Baskin is saying no way. So you can reference a build project host instead hosted in another instance of Visual Studio. Yes, you can. You can definitely can. So the thing is that, and we've been whining about this, and whining is the exact word that we're doing to the NuGet team, to have something that allows to change, to allow for NuGet package developers to develop their packages better. And the way we're doing this is called a NuGet package cache override. This is that line here. And what we're doing is basically taking the output of the project when it's being built, telling which version should be overridden, and we're taking the build output from Visual Studio here that's building Uno, and then overriding the cache, the NuGet cache that the other Visual Studio is using. So it's kind of cache pollution in a sense. That's why we're saying never override a stable version of Uno, because if you do this, then you may be using invalid things and incorrect bits that you expect to be working and would not. And always use a dev version. But otherwise, it's going to be overriding the whole thing and have your app overridden properly. So yes, it is implemented by default in the Uno build. So if you change that Uno NuGet override version, it's going to be overriding the right files in the right places, so you can test it out on the other end. Just make sure that you build the samples app, not just the binary that you're manipulating. This is something that we're changing in the future so that it becomes easier to work with. One of the reasons it's so complicated is that we have UWP and WinUI at the same time, so it's something that we're looking at changing in the future. But still, you can see that the file that has changed, which is called it's Uno UI. I don't remember where that one is. It's going to be somewhere in there. Uno UI. It's over there probably. Wasm tests. Uno UI. Uno. There you go. So we got Uno WinUI. There you go. That's the one. So that one is the output of the WebAssembly version of Uno, and then it's overriding the 5.7 dev 7.3.1, so that when you build your other app on the other side, then we'll pick up the right binaries. Now you need to make sure that you're rebuilding, because they may not be picked up by default, but that's it will pick up the latest packages and latest binaries that are in the cache after the NuGet has been restored. One other thing that's of importance that you need to build at least once with the version you want to override, because otherwise NuGet will override the files that you've built, and then you're going to lose your changes. So, and you're going to have to rebuild again and things like that. So know that that is something that you have to do. But now that I've made my change, then the overridden files are going to be at the right place, which means that the issue should be fixed. So we're gonna validate that. So Baskin saying build the samples app should all be well as long as not using the production build. Correct. Yes. Don't use production numbers. So any stable build of Uno, never do that, because you're gonna be in a world of pain, because you may have fixed a few things or changed or broken your binaries, and then you're gonna try to figure out a bug that doesn't exist. So make sure that you override only dev builds. And the next question is maybe not related. What does the allow pre-release flag do? Well, that one is about making sure that you're not using any pre-release builds of the .NET SDK. In my case, I think I do have .NET 10 installed, and I don't want to troubleshoot with .NET 10. So that's what you don't want to do. But if you want to use a preview build of .NET, then you may want to change that to true. Great. So I have my build set. No, I rebuild it again. And there we go. So I need to restart this. No exceptions. Now let's see if the exception is fixed. Well, there you go. So we got the execute script that changed the color. I'm assuming that's what the script is supposed to do. At least it's not failing anymore. So let's go and take a look at the script and see what it was actually doing. I'm not too sure where it, oh no, I'm sorry. It's something that's supposed to be inside the global JSON, the main page. And it's likely, okay, so when we navigate to string, it's supposed to be setting something to blue instead of red. Oh, okay, no, that's the second one. So we're navigating to string in blue, and then we're getting the element and setting it to red. So yes, it worked. That means that this is a string that was executed by execute script async. So one of the things that's of interest here is that if you want to go troubleshoot and see what actually happens when you're clicking, when you're running your app, you can actually go and put breakpoints directly in there. So if we search for execute script here, we can just put a breakpoint there, and then when we click to run execute script async, we can see that we're executing on a specific element, and then we're executing the script, and we're executing that script which changes the color to red in that particular method. That's particularly cool. So we can see that the code has changed. There you go. There you go. That's the first fix. That was an easy fix. It's something that probably we missed in between, where with the testing, I probably should be having something to validate that. So probably add a test. I don't know if it's something that we could validate someplace differently. Could probably do something like that. So let's go take a look. Let's go figure this one out. I think we do have a bunch of tests in the WebAssembly app that are supposed to validate that kind of things, and we're probably not fixing the right things, not running validating the right things. So let's go and run the samples app. So our samples app is an application that contains all sorts of unit tests and runtime tests and UI tests and things like that we're running during every build on every platform, and we're running a lot of those, and try to catch as many regressions as possible. And it looks like we missed that one. So we're gonna try to see if there's something we can change here. So let's see. I'm going to close the other one because it's blocking the build here. There we go. So if you're wondering, those fast up-to-date messages, those are something that allows you to troubleshoot incremental builds, and I will always let them on because it's easier for me to validate that the build is actually not rebuilding too much every time. We can see here that it's there are a few things that need to be regenerated in some cases, but not always. And that's something that Visual Studio should be able to do. If you've not changed anything and do Control F5, it should run immediately. And in some cases it doesn't. And that's how you debug this. And if you want to enable this, you can go to Tools Options. You got Projects and Solutions. You get SDK Style Projects. And then you set the logging level to something else but none. So you can set it to info or verbose. Even minimal, I'm not even sure minimal is good enough. And it's going to give you things like up-to-date file has changed to something like, the set of project item change was more recent than the last successful build, not up to date, and it says set of changes is empty. So this one is probably incorrect, but it will tell you if you're rebuilding for the wrong reasons. Okay, so now I do have my application running. So now let's go search for WebView. We certainly have JavaScript invoke script async. There you go. Well, that's that's something. There we go. So we have a test that's supposed to be doing something, and it's not. I'm not too sure if it's supposed to be doing something, but it doesn't look like it is. Okay, so let's go take a look at that test because feels like it should be the right one to test for, but let's search for that test. So web view invoke script async. So that's one of the tests that is being run. That one is actually that exactly is the sample that you used to create it. Yeah, okay, so that makes sense. Okay, so we're basically trying to read write and then see if it's if it's doing the right things. And by the looks of it, it's not doing the right things. So what is probably happening is that we're not executing that test and we should be doing it. So let's go figure out if we have a test in the runtime test there that is doing exactly that. So in our test here, if we go to controls, I would guess, we have a given web view. We should be having a web view. We have a given web view 1. Not sure if it's web view 2. Okay, so that's just web view 1. Do we have a web view 2 in there? Does not look like we do. There's Windows Web here, but there's not web view 2. Looks like we're missing something. So it looks like we got tests that were added for WebView. So the original WebView for UWP, but the WebView 2 ones are not there. And is there a test for WebView invoke script async? So there's one here. But for some reason, we're not executing it, and we should. Okay, so we're going to make another one. We're going to make another set of tests here to validate that we can actually execute the right content. So we're going to make a given WebView 2. I'm just going to be executing the same things and restore those tests, but for WebView 2. Okay, so WebView 2 is going to be a WinUI, WinUI only for now. That's one that we're going to be validating. So that we don't need. Okay, so we're going to put that at the top. So Uno WinUI that we can remove. So that we can remove. So it's given web view, and we're going to disable most of it. But that one would have been of interest, and it's not there. So we're going to move that one to the top and just test for that one specifically for now. and we're going to restore the other ones afterwards. Just going to be validating this one. Oop. Okay, so I've created one test. So it's a runtime test. So a runtime test is basically a unit test, but that runs in the environment of the target. So if we're running it, it's a unit test running in inside of WebAssembly. It's something that we're continuously evolving. It's something that we're taking a look also with all the work that the Microsoft is doing along the lines of the what is called the MTP. So it's the new test platform that they're building to make things go faster, smoother, and we're probably going to be adjusting our tooling so that we align with that. I see that Andres is there. If you have questions for HUD design, Ask Away is going to be able to help. Okay, so still building. We have our samples app building, and we're going to be able to test the result directly. So what we want to have is when invoke script async directly in our application here. So we're going to be searching for the when invoke script async in the, sorry, it was not just the test list here. So this is the engine, the test, the runtime test engine runner, and we're searching for that one. So we're just going to be executing the invoke script async, and we can see that for some reason it's failing, so it's not able to get the result here. So it's expected blue, and it's getting nothing. So maybe we're not returning the right content or something. Not too sure yet. So we're gonna have to try to figure out what we can change there. So we're doing invoke script here for the element that's called test here, and we're assuming that we're going to get blue. Now, the reason for this returning nothing may be multifold, so we're going to try to figure that one out. First, we need to go and see what the invoke script is doing. So is it actually returning something? So maybe there's something wrong there, and it's not returning the right value to start with. Okay, so well, invoke script is not there, so that's maybe one of the reason that could be one of the issues. So invoke script async is not working. Core web view 2. It's supposed to be executing this one and go into the code that we had before. Oh, okay. Oh, so that's why it's not working. So it's actually not doing anything. It's returning an empty string. So definitely not working. So we got execute and invoke. So we got two methods that are available. They're doing seemingly the same thing, but not exactly. Okay, so let's go with execute script async first and not use the other one. So we're going to go for execute script async first. Oh, I forgot. This is WebView 2, so maybe that's why it's doing the wrong things. So we got execute script async. We were not running the right. So it's a WebView 2 that we need to test. So let's test this first. So it's not invoke script async that we need. It's execute script async. So that's why it was not doing the right thing. Okay, so execute script async here, and we are supposed to be executing just an eval command there without any parameter, so that's why it's not working. So the reason it was not working is that we were using WebView 1, not WebView 2. So we need to be using WebView 2. Okay, that's the one. So you may have seen that error message that showed up. That was hot reload complaining about something. So I should have been able to do hot reload, but it failed for some reason, probably because there was an error in the code that I wrote, but I'm not too sure. So maybe that's something that if it happens again, we're going to be troubleshooting. So we have our WebView 2 with navigation completed. We have all the events that we need, and we're just going to be validating that we get the right results. So it's building remote control. And we were searching for invoke script async, and it doesn't exist anymore. This was a WebView 1 method, and WebView 2 it's execute script async, so that's why it's we were not able to find it. Okay, so we're down to the samples app, and I hope we can get hot reload to work. That's going to be easier. Taking a while. That's interesting. It's taking that long. It's not supposed to, because we built it already. It was supposed to have been faster, but anyways. Okay, so reloading, and then we're going to go and execute the script directly, the test directly. And okay, so I cannot read properties of null. That's good. So that means that we're actually going further. But in this case, we're probably not executing the right script. So either the script is incorrect, or maybe what we're trying to get for the blue test here, maybe it's not the right one. I don't know. So let's go find our script there. So we're searching for Uno UI. We're searching for execute. Actually, we could probably just pause and cut exceptions. Probably going to be easier. No. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we do get element by ID using test, and then we're trying to get the style of test, but it may be that for some reason either the document is not there. Okay, document is it because document is null? No, okay, document is not null. That's good. But test, is it because test is empty? So oh, okay, so you can see that the test element that we have here is not in the tree. So maybe that's the reason. So if I continue, you can see that we're trying to read something that doesn't exist, and that may be the reason why. So maybe we were trying to read the element too soon. That could be. So let's go take a look at the code itself. So we're doing a navigate to string, but we're not waiting for the loaded event to have happened. Or no, we're waiting for navigate to happen, but we still have the test ID here. But when we're trying to get to that point, the element is not there. So let's try something. If we do just a basic delay in the middle, it's not something that we must keep in there, because it's generally a bad idea. So that means that we're missing explicit triggers for the rest. It looks like I've been doing hot reload. Did the hot reload happen? So it's still building. Let's wait a little bit to see if it's actually reloading properly. Okay, the hot reload still seems to have happened. Let's see. Okay, so it's frozen for some reason. Not too sure why. Is it because I broke on the... I put a breakpoint before. Maybe happening. Let's reload. Oh, even the browser is frozen. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so one of the things that happens is the hot reload is supposed to reload the pieces that were modified originally. So it should be having something updated. Okay, so it's still failing. So it looks like we changed something that broke completely the runtime. So let's do a rebuild. So it looks like hot reload is having issues there. Okay, so let's rebuild. Oh, Jose is here. Hi, Jose. Could you explain to me what changed in the project when using Uno SDK instead of Microsoft Net SDK? Oh, a lot of stuff happens in between. Well, the main reason we're using this is because we're adding 2 new target frameworks. We're adding Net 9 browser SDK, browser Wasm, sorry, and we're adding Net 9 Net 9 desktop. So that's the main reason we're doing this. But there's also a few additional things that we're doing with regards to, implicit packages and overriding the behavior of some of the target frameworks and below. So for instance, using standard.NET, you cannot do a project that targets both WebAssembly and desktop. It's not possible to do because the two are using separate SDK. So if you want to do WebAssembly, you need to use Microsoft Net SDK WebAssembly. And if you want to do just standard .NET, you need to use Microsoft Net SDK. So what we're doing inside of the Uno SDK is that we're detecting which target frameworks are used, and then we're splitting those so that they can transparently uses one of the two underlying Microsoft SDKs, so you don't have to switch in between. So that's one of the reasons we're using the Microsoft Net SDK. And then there's a lot of other stuff that we're doing inside of the Uno SDK, and not to go into too many details because I don't have it there. But you can browse the Uno SDK in here. It's somewhere down there. Uno SDK, there you go. And you can find all the targets that we're using. So we got common properties like saying that whereas an SDK is defined, or where there's a common Wasm or implicit packages or things like that. So that's why we're having this. Question is there a way to run an Uno platform cross-platform app without using Uno SDK on desktop mobiles? No, not at this time. You have to use that, and because we're adding things on top of what Microsoft's providing for Uno to work properly, and it's if you want to do a single project, it's the only way for achieving that goal, unfortunately. Okay, so let's try to rerun our invoke script test and see if the test, the weights that we're adding is actually going to help. Oh, it does. Okay, so we can see here that it's actually working, but we need to add a delay in between. And the reason we need to add a delay is probably because we're trying to get something in the script here that that doesn't work. So for instance, it would mean that the navigator is actually saying that it is navigated, but it's not loaded completely. And it fails to find the test element there because it's not there to search for. So there may be a few things that we can do. I would tend to think that, so first, adding a delay is not something that can be done. It's not a good thing because it will arbitrarily slow down the running of testing. So we need to be removing that. But what we could do instead is just make this async and wait for the element to be available. That could be something that we can do. So to do that, we're going to be changing this to go and be an async function. And this is an awaitable function, so we should be able to do that. So to do that, we need to do an async here, an async function. And we need to put it in parentheses if I'm not mistaken, and then we need to execute it. And then inside that method, we need to probably loop a little bit. So let's do something like that. So for instance, if we do just going to do a for loop inside, or maybe not a for loop. Actually, it's something that we could try to do. I see I have let me try to use Copilot there. Maybe that's going to be something that we can have fun with. So if I do reload Uno, maybe we can have some fun. Well, thank you, Jose, for asking questions. It's always interesting to answer interesting questions. So bring them on. I'm glad to answer. So let's see. Let's see if Copilot is good enough to create us some method here to change that. Well, there should be an event that's navigation complete. So what I want to do is two things. First, I want to make that test kind of behave properly. So that would be the first one. But then that also means that that navigation completed event is not doing the right thing. So, I mean, definitely we're not raising it the right way. Not sure exactly why. Maybe it's a limitation of the the web view. Maybe it's a limitation of the way we're handling things to show XAML, to show HTML in the web view. That could be. Okay, so it's not returning the right. So can we see that web view? The web view here. And the core web view 2. Core web view 2 Wasm. Look at core web view 2 Wasm, and that one is using a native web view, which is on the Wasm side as well. Native web view here. Navigation completed. So navigation completed is something that is raised when iframe is loaded. Probably too late, or actually too early, probably. So it's raising iframe loaded too early. And where's that one coming from? That one is raised by load. Okay, so it's raised by load, so maybe it's not the right event to get to. I'm not too sure exactly how that was implemented. So maybe there's something else that we need to do here. Try to figure out if there's an underlying event that is available. Let's go take a look. Maybe there's something else that we can find. Because in the way it's implemented, we have an iframe and then a document over there. Maybe there's a way to have another element. So let's see. That I don't know. Iframe. I think it's content loaded. I never remember those names. Iframe content is loaded. So we have get element on load. Nope, that's not the one. Well, that's pretty old. There's the onload on a specific element. Okay, so it's probably just something that needs to be included directly on there, but that's probably not enough. So definitely, so it says that we're basically waiting for the load of this element or the native element. I'm not too sure. iframe loaded. So we're registering an event on the native web view. The native web view is an iframe, so it's supposed to be the right type. So we're basically waiting for the loaded event on the iframe itself. And the problem is that it will probably not give the right events for what I can see, at least not in the on the way the JavaScript is defined here. Maybe there's another way to do it. Unload event on an iframe. What do we have there? Site loaded, it's onload, but we're probably doing this directly on the load event. So if I go take a look here, we're using load on the event directly. So we're probably going to be doing the same thing, which is going to be unload as well. Yeah, it's going to be, we're already on the load event, so it's not good enough. So that would be waiting on the executing script async is probably something we need to do. Well, another thing would be to kind of inject something in the root of the HTML element. Maybe add another frame inside. But the problem is that the web view is kind of loading the content directly. So you see that the element it should be about something added in there in the body, but feels like it's odd. That's not enough. Probably missing something else. So Jose is asking, do I have a video of about the Uno SDK? No, I don't. I mean, it's probably something that you would need to have a very specific question about. So and try to understand what that is. So yeah, so that's why we need to have a wait a little bit to determine if something else is available. But let's see. You're mentioning there's a wait for. Did you see wait for that I missed? Yeah, there's navigation complete that is raised by iframe loaded. And then there's no wait here. Okay, so is there a wait? There's a wait for navigation here, but there's no wait of any kind. So we're going to be needing to wait for the event to be there. So we need to while, let's do while true. For now, at least, we're going to be refactoring that afterwards. And if are we going to do an await? I don't remember how to do a yield in JavaScript. Is there a way to yield? I think there's probably a way. JavaScript yield. Yield. But it's just a task that yield, but I'm not too sure if there's just a base yield that exists. Yeah, it's just yeah, that's not the one that I want. We need to await something else. That's not the one. Yield back to main thread. I don't know how to mention it. Yield method. That would be that one. Returns a promise. Okay. Okay, so that would be yield directly. Yield is supported on scheduler, basic usage. Okay, so we can do that. Okay, so let's try yield directly like this. So we can do await yield, which is going to be looping until, you know, we can probably should wait a little bit more, but you know, let's well, we're waiting for the navigated event to be there. So we're setting it to false, and then we're waiting for navigated to be true. So we should be waiting a little bit in there for the test element to be available. That would be the best way to do it. We could I don't know if that one's async. It's probably not. I don't think there's an async version of it. No, it's a synchronous version, so it's not gonna be super helpful. But you could wait inside and just get the element and wait for it to be returning. That would be one way of doing it. So we're going to say if we're going to be doing test element, and then if test element, then we're going to be returning something. Okay, so that would be something like this. We yield so that we let the JavaScript scheduler run properly, and then we try to get the element. If it's there, then we return it. Otherwise, we throw at the end. That would be, I think that would be enough. So let's try that one. So we're wrapping it as an async function because we need to have a wait in there. So we can't await if we're not inside an async function. So that's why we're creating the function here and then calling it here with an empty set of parameters. So yeah, I'm gonna drop the fast up to date for verbosity. It's probably too high. Otherwise, we're missing methods, missing messages because it's too verbose. Okay, so if I go back here, run my script async. Okay, so we're missing a token. Probably. Well, yes, probably need a timeout. I just wanted to try to, yes, you're agreed. Yeah, we need a timeout. So this is not good. We need to run for a while. And this is, you're right, it's incorrect. I'm probably going to be using a delay. I think there's a way to do a delay. I think there's timeout, but there's probably a way to do scheduler delay or something like that. Script wait delay. There's wait. No, that's not the one that I want. There's set timeout, but is there a way to do that? There's promise resolve delay wait for me. Okay, so there's that. Sucks a little bit that we have to write that, but oh well. Okay, let's use that one. So we can declare that temporarily. And then wait for me is going to be, instead of yielding, we're just going to be waiting a little bit. And we're going to wait for 100 milliseconds and then just wait for, we're going to wait a little bit. Let's go. Let's wait at most 500 milliseconds, and then we're gonna throw if not. Okay. Let's see what that does. That should be enough. Well, I don't have my Copilot set up, but it's probably going to be helping last time. Oh, you're right. ++. Okay. Well, it's less verbose. That's okay. It's always it's not, you're not throwing us off, it's throwing me off. That's fine. It's just we're developing and you're just experimenting. You're not thinking about everything. So that's always what happens. That's why, I mean, having a Copilot is interesting, because the thing is just dropping code that looks okay, and then you can concentrate on trying to find issues in the code instead of writing it. That's what is always interesting with Copilots. Okay, so let's go back to our sample. And let's run it again and see what happens. All right, so we got tokens here that are missing. Maybe so let's go take a look at the actual error, because there's probably going to be a line number there, and we're probably going to be testing the code directly in the console to write it properly. Okay, so if I do this and then I stop on the caught exceptions. Okay, so we're executing that script, and so it supposed to be right. Let's write it there. Okay, so it says undefined, which is different. So I'm wondering if there's something else there. Eval script. So we have a did I write something incorrect there? It says opening of the bracket is incorrect. So there's that one. Is that one? Maybe it's the async that I didn't write properly. Let's see. I don't recall. Maybe I do need to have the. Maybe I do need to use the lambda syntax. Ah, there you go. It's a lambda syntax. My bad. That's why. Great. Let's see what we get. And then afterwards, once we do have our test, we should be able to just commit it as is, and then have that run in the CI. And hopefully on all platforms. So invoke script async. Okay, value is not a string. So now we have another type of problem. Could be because we're returning something that is not a string. That could be. That one is supposed to be a string, but maybe we're not returning the right thing. So let's see. So when we're executing the string here, when we're writing the tests, and then we're diving into that portion, and then so I'm putting breakpoint. So it's awaiting. Value is not a string. Okay. Okay, so maybe there was an exception somewhere. Assert fail, value is not a string. Okay, so it's definitely something else. Looks like I've been trying to execute the statement and wait for me, and for some reason it's failing on something else. That is interesting. So it looks like it's getting out of the method from the execution of the Marshall to string. So there's something else that's happening that's failing. And so it's calling the anonymous function, but it's failing in return. Okay, so there's definitely something else that's wrong there. Wait for me. Is wait for me available? Doesn't look like it is. Because when I do F11, it goes to... I don't even know what that is. Set immediate. Okay. Run if present. So global message, but it looks like something else. Yeah, it feels like it's not getting the function right. So maybe the wait for me here is not available there for some reason. So maybe I can define it inside. Maybe the scope is incorrect. That could be. But no, I got into wait for me. So this is correct. So maybe there's something else in between. Maybe we're going to put a breakpoint in the let test and see where we do get from that point. So that's one of the things when you're running code like this, you have to troubleshoot it by billing it again. If hot reload helps, that's good. It's not helping in that case because it's failing, but that helps getting to the point where you can re-execute the code without having to rebuild the app, and it makes it a little bit faster. Let's try. Okay, so it's trying to load the WebAssembly file. It's super huge and it's having it's having trouble loading it. Okay. Okay, so we're in the load document here. We're getting to the while, so that is correct. Let's put a breakpoint on the next line. What happens? Okay, so we're running to the promise. We're going to set timeout. Set timeout is set. Milliseconds is set also. Resolve is correct. And we're not getting out of the wait for me. So either the resolve is incorrect here, or it's not resolving the right things. Wonder. Because there's definitely an exception somewhere. Oh, it's returning pending. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so maybe it's not failing after all. Okay, so it's returning the control to, okay, that makes sense. Okay, so now I understand. So what happens is that the function that we're executing here, so it's not there anymore, but in here, it looks like we're returning something that is a task, and for some reason, the execute async is not interpreting it as a task, and that may be why it's happening that way. So maybe we have something wrong in there. So let's go troubleshoot that part. So we have a from task, native web view, execute script async. So that one is returning invoke script async from the execute script synchronous. That's why it happens that way. So that's the problem. So we're not running it as an async method. That's actually quite interesting. So I don't know if it would be a breaking change or not, because we're supposed to be awaiting something that's executed as part of an async method. But the problem is that if we're not returning a promise, then it may do some weird things if it was meant to work that way to begin with. So let's change that. We got native execute script here. And then we're going to change that to be So in the we're going to go to the native methods down. That's the one that we tried to fix before. So we have native view here. And we got execute script here. So we got execute script. The problem is that that script is supposed to be async, or we're returning something async, but it's not. So maybe that's the problem. I'm not too sure what happens if we're doing it in a web view. So we're going to be trying to, well, sleep 100 is not going to be working, unfortunately. So if you put a sleep in there, the problem is that you have to be running it through a promise. So, I mean, we could do a promise without doing a wait. That works. But the thing is that what will happen is that the call to execute script async here is not going to wait anything. So it's just going to go through, and then it's not going to be returning the right values. So we're going to be stuck at the beginning. So we have to be able to actually await the JavaScript that's in there, and not just return from the first value that we have. So to do that, and we're going to be finishing on this, we need to be making this async. Yeah, no, the issue is really the fact that we're returning something that is async in a synchronous method. So we can see here that the method that we have that was execute script is supposed to be a task returning method. And it's not returning async. So now that it's changed and it's returning an async, we're going to be able to adjust the invocation and return the actual async result, and see if it fixes it to some extent. And something we're going to try very quickly is in the other app that was there originally. Why do we have, if we call something async in WebView 2, but the Windows one, does it actually execute something async? That is something that is of interest there. Okay, so I have my we have the script here. So if I execute that, let's see what happens. So I haven't changed the method. It should be a method that's called execute script async because it's an async one. But yeah, so that's the change, and we're going to be validating very quickly while it's building in the other app that we had. So we know resource loading, and see if we run the Windows version, and if we make it an async method. So if we do actually do an async method there, and then instead of, so we're not gonna make it do anything fancy. We're just gonna make you do the scheduler call that we had before. I think it was that scheduler.yield. I'm gonna make it await something like that, and then we're gonna be making it return hello. Yeah, it has to be a lambda. Thanks. Okay, so if we do that, then we have the right call. And let's see what happens. So still building on the other side. So on this side, we're trying. Oh, yeah. So we're awaiting. Actually, we're going to be doing. Let's do something like this. So we're going to be outputting the result of the string that gets from the click execution there, and see if we get something interesting. We should be getting hello. instead. So let's see if we get something there. MSX package is not running properly. Oh, looks like I'm missing something there. Oh, yeah, the project is completely broken for some reason. Let's remove everything for now because we don't need the rest. What do you mean button width? Is you mean the width of the button is going to be incorrect? That could be. Okay, so it failed. Why did it fail? Oh, okay. That's not nice. Ah, yes, that's the unpackaging bug. Yeah. Ah, okay. So that's a problem with the versions that I do have installed there. Not sure exactly what. So that's the problem with WebView 2 when you're running it in that environment and Windows. If you don't have everything aligned properly, you're going to get issues. That's what I'm getting here. It's not loading the right right parameters, so it's failing with that error message that you see. Okay, so we're going to validate that another time, and we're going to finalize on this one. So let's continue. Nope. Okay, and do we have the right execution? It's this time I would think that it will be the case. Maybe. Unless it's my my loop that doesn't work. That could be the case as well. Okay, so that's probably my loop that's not working. So if I put a breakpoint there, is there, or maybe it's the wait that doesn't work. That's interesting. Not too sure what's happening there. So we have a problem with the fact that the lambda, the function that's being executed in there is not executed entirely. Not too sure what's happening there. Definitely we have something that's not executing properly. Wanted to put a breakpoint in the inside. We can't set a breakpoint inside the resolve. Okay, so maybe we'd have to rewrite that. Oh, there it is. I wanted to put the breakpoint at that location. Okay, so let's try again. Nope, didn't work again. One more time. Okay, so we're waiting there. Let's see if we get into the resolve. We should. We don't. Okay, so there's something else. So maybe it's the set timeout that's incorrect. Maybe it's not using the right things. I mean, we're supposed to be getting into the resolve here, but we're not. So definitely there's something wrong. I don't think it's canceled, but there's something else that's broken there, but I don't see it. But we're getting there. But still, the point is that it's fixed somehow. But there's something that I need to discuss with Martin because we should be returning something with async, but we're not. So there's probably a bit more that meets the eye with regards to fixing that issue. So yes, we can get execute script async to be fixed as is, but the problem is that it should be async, but it's not. So maybe we need to do something about it. So stay tuned, and we're probably going to comment on the issue a bit more to fix that one the right way. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed that session. I'll try to be more regular, for the next, now that we have a hot design out. And until next week, happy coding, and bye for now.